Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalai Nui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Welcome to the program. Background music is Olomana's Seabird. We are produced by the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. The opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of this radio station or of the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. We'll be on the radio for the next hour, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning at what time? 6 o'clock. I hope I'm here at 6. There are times when I forget to wake up and I arrive here maybe an hour later. Yeah, but I should be here at 6 tomorrow morning. We have been talking in the earlier hour about the ability of is it ability or the mindset of people who I guess are stuck in the denial, and we've spoken more specifically about Mr. Ken Conklin, who has himself projected himself in such discussions and have attended numerous kinds of meetings on the subject of Hawaiian sovereignty and the illegality of the overthrow and being in denial about it. But he's not the only one. There's another one who is Thurston Twigsmith, who has been in that state of denial. Our caller, one of our callers, Michael, had elaborated on this defense mechanism, and he says it's prominently among white people, and the anxiety that is formed within them are oftentimes found in three bases. The first being denial, the second being projections, and the third being rationalizations. And I think I have heard all three applied very specifically to the Hawaiian sovereignty case. One, they deny that these facts actually took place. Secondly, they project about what others would have done if the United States did not do it, and somehow that becomes a justification for the U.S. taking Hawaii. And you've heard that argument also. Well, if it wasn't the United States, then those communists would take it. China would have to come in, or someone else. Always projecting on someone else the wrongdoings of the United States. And the third is rationalization. Well, aren't you better off? Aren't you happy to be living in this democracy? This is the best government that we have, and can you think of any other form of government? And again, you've heard a lot of those arguments. And some of you may have participated in using those arguments. Okay. I seem to have gotten carried away into the discussion, and so I'm going to end the background music of Seabird with my mahalo to Olomana for providing that music. So this is our, I guess, our segue into, or getting back into our discussions. I wanted to bring to your attention another matter that came to my attention, or at least a thought that I thought you might find some agreement with, or some agreement with. I heard Barack Obama in his speech to the nation this afternoon as I drove from Waianae to Honolulu. And he said, I'm going to set aside all of the political discussions that we have and not continue with that in this speech. What I want to do is talk about the Olympics and how we gather together and cherish the athleticism, I guess. And this isn't necessarily his words. I'm trying to paraphrase his thoughts. So it was a focus on the value of athletics and sportsmanship. But then he missed the mark because he used that speech and he used the discussion of the Olympics not to talk about athleticism, but to talk about the superiority or at least the allegiance, if not superiority, of the U.S. team and how they have won medal after medal. And it shows that if you really set your heart and mind to it, you too can become a winner. And I was disappointed with the approach that he had taken, which was also sort of similar to my remarks to the core staff of Teach for America, because part of the deep culture is that domination, individualism, and exclusion. And you can see that deep culture in the way we do sports, in the way schools are taught to do sports, and the way the American public see sports. And as you look at the Olympics, it then becomes a contest between a country versus another country, a team that you support versus another team. But I would think that, or at least to, to transcend that anchor called patriotism, called cheering for your own, it would be a different mindset to look at the Olympics as the supreme accomplishment of these individuals, irrespective of what country they come from, to be able to swim so expertly and to demonstrate that degree of expertise and superiority among others who have been recognized as superior in their fields. Or any of the other sports, whether it's individual or team sports, to see and appreciate the value of athleticism. And what I would also want to have valued is this concept of sportsmanship. And those 8 badminton players who tried to lose so that they could get into another category would not be included in sportsmanship. And I would have to put some blame on the Olympic Committee. But what I'm saying is that how do we change our own deep culture? How do we change our own baggage? Those things that we have been brought up with to cheer for our folks, for our guys, rather than regarding the efforts, the development of all people, and to cheer for a good game being played. So even we can find where we are stuck in a particular mindset, and so this is a good opportunity to do that kind of challenge and building that kind of flexibility within each one of us. Okay, our telephone number, and I'm sorry for running all over the place in my conversations. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
I was going to say about, the U.S. Olympic team.
Yes.
The members of the team came from the same country they're beating.
Some of them, that's correct. That's correct. And some of them who have gone to other countries, but they come from the United States.
Yeah. My son told me about the Puerto Rican guy, but he said, from Puerto Rico, because that's where I'm from. Mm-hmm. But he said, no, he's playing for the United States. Yeah, and so a lot of that goes on. I was also surprised to see professional athletes, especially in basketball. Yeah, that's a manslaughter right there.
Yeah, and it turns everything off when you have that kind of professionalism
Well, I wish they could go back to the college guys.
Yeah.
I had to get off the connections back.
Okay, thank you for your call. Aloha. And all right, so I just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you. Now, if you'd like to call, our telephone number is 524-1080. Some of you may recall the resolution that we are now trying to circulate to see if we find other people in agreement with it. And if you do, you can write to me on my either on my website or send me an email, and I'm at Lainui, P for Poka, Lainui, Laenui, at Hawaiian Perspectives.org, and you can share with me your opinions on this resolution. I was going to talk about the resolution and some different views about the resolution, but rather than that, let me the caller had just hung up, so if you want, you can call. The first critique with regards to the resolution, and perhaps I should read the first paragraph that deals with the critique, is that we say, whereas following generations of migrations from parts of the world to these most remote islands in the Pacific Ocean, there came to be formed a people of a common culture, language, history, and government, known as Hawaiians. And so the critique was, well, I believe that, or why go into that? Why not simply say that the Hawaiians originated here? And why call them Hawaiians? Maybe they should be called Kanaka Maoli, because that is a more appropriate term for us. And so I responded, and I will get into my response. I keep seeing the light going on and off, and so it's uncertain whether or not I will be answering the phone calls. But let me go through that response, and then you can call and we can discuss those things. So the critique, let's see if I can find it, and just read that critique. Well, anyway, the critique was that they just simply say that this is we are Kanaka Maoli, and Hawaiians are primarily Polynesian and not necessarily a polyglot of many people from many places, as the first sentence seems to indicate. Well, I don't agree with Hawaiians are primarily Polynesian. We don't know. We have a strong history of Hawaiians, the very early Hawaiians being Menehune. And of these people, were they Polynesians? I'm not sure. And at times we are reminded that we had Hawaiians who had what we call ehu hair, or sort of blondish or reddish hair, blue eyes. Is that a trait of Polynesians, whatever Polynesians mean? My father, who comes from Kailua Kona, or actually what is that place known as Holualoa in Kona on the island of Hawaii, would tell me that they were an earlier people in Hawaii, and the language that they spoke, and he had heard that language spoken by many of the older Hawaiians whenever they didn't want people such as he, this young kid. And of course, there was at a particular time in Hawaii's history, not to understand what they were talking about, they would speak the Malay language. And that was what they called the language. And I was asking, is that an old version of Hawaiian? He says, no, it was a completely different language. And it was known as Malay. And it appears that that language came into Hawaii prior to who was that Cook having arrived in Hawaii. So what are the Hawaiians? Where did they come from? You have Thor Heyerdahl, a very well-known theory about coming from South America. You have Max Freedom Long, who started up the Huna Research Society out of California, and his theories of very similar to the Mormon Church and their theories of the Hawaiians actually being one of the lost tribes of Israel. You have Tirangi Hiroa, Sir Peter Buck, who wrote about Vikings of the Sunrise, and then the name of the book was subsequently changed. And you have Abraham Fornander, who wrote about the origins of the Hawaiian people, and they all trace that we came to these islands from many different places. But rather than even getting into that debate, which is not appropriate, I believe, for the purpose of this resolution, what we say here is simply following generations of migration from parts of the world to these most remote islands in the Pacific Ocean, there came to be formed a people of a common culture, language, history, and government known as Hawaiians. Even King Kalakaua, in his book Legends and Myths of Hawaii, recalls the ancient races of Hawaii pre the 1600s, pre Pa'au and Pili, before the Tahitian, or was it Samoans, who arrived and brought different gods or different religious aspects to Hawaii. You had the Ulu line of Hawaiians, you had the Nanaulu line of Hawaiians, and other lines that were from the old Hawaiian families. Now, so they would fit between the Pili and Pa'au group of folks and after the Menehune. And so you see that Hawaii had been subject to migrations to Hawaii. The point of this resolution is that as of what year did we identify? 1887, Hawaii was recognized as an independent nation. And we don't need to go into an anthropological or genealogical or mythological detail as to where they came from. Some people say they came from Mu, or the continent of Mu. But all of that is interesting discussion for some other purposes, not for the purpose of this resolution, which says that wherever they came from, as of that year, they were recognized as an independent nation. Additional critique is that, well, instead of 1887, should it be in 1843? Because that is when the British and the French signed the joint treaty recognizing Hawaii as an independent nation. And that treaty was signed, I think, in, I'm not sure, in maybe March or April of 1843. So again, some people are trying to pinpoint when was Hawaii recognized in the international arena as an independent nation. Well, let us not forget that, who was that? Secretary Calhoun was secretary, and he referenced the President of the United States having already addressed the joint houses of Congress, assuring them of his recognition of Hawaii as an independent nation, and back in December of 1842. That being the case, then was that the date that Hawaii was recognized as an independent nation? And I would say not even that. That is all during the period of Kauikeaouli, that's Kamehameha III. During the reign of Kamehameha I, I am informed that Paea Kamehameha undertook the salute of the independent nation of Argentina. It was called it had a different Spanish name, but Argentina had just become independent from Spain, and Paea Kamehameha had heard about this. So when a ship sailed into Honolulu harbors, flying their national flag, their independent flag, he fired his cannons saluting this independent nation, and in response, that Argentinian ship fired its cannons, saluting the Hawaiian nation. What happens in this occasion is that you have the recognition and the respect being accorded to both countries. And at that moment, at least at that point in time, Hawaii was cast into the international arena with that recognition, just as Argentina was also cast into the international arena with that recognition, because Hawaii had been the first to recognize the independence of Argentina. Okay, so that goes back during, and Paia Kamehameha died in, when was that, 1809, 1810, or 1807, I think, just in that period of time. So you see, I'm sorry, he died in about 1819. Yeah, I think that was when he passed away. So you see that Hawaii had already been playing in the international arena, and there was some accordance of its independent state. And then some others would say, well, even before that, Paia Kamehameha had his ships already trading with Asia. And in that, they had flown the Hawaiian flag, and this was by Captain Adams, one of Kamehameha's Haole captains, who flew that flag and was representing Paia Kamehameha. And so there was that intercourse, that commercial intercourse with different nations. What was the beginning point? All of these are possibilities. But as of 1887, what the resolutions say is that you had already treaties and conventions with Belgium, Bremen, Denmark, France, German Empire, Great Britain, Hamburg, Hong Kong, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, New South Wales, Portugal, Russia, Samoa, Spain, Swiss Confederation, Sweden and Norway, Tahiti, and the United States of America. So at that point in time, no denial. Inescapable, Hawaii an independent nation. So for the purposes of that resolution, that's what the important point is to establish. An independent nation, Hawaii, and then subsequently invaded, attacked by the United States, landing of the American troops. So I want to share that as part of the background discussion that is happening among some of us. And so by broadcasting it, it can incorporate your thoughts and bring you up to date as to what is the progress that is occurring. Again, my email address, should you decide to communicate with me on your thoughts with regards to the resolution, is PLaiNui@HawaiianPerspectives.org. Okay, it's almost 5:30. It's 5:28 right now, and let's see. We don't have any calls on the line, and I'm sorry to the caller for not having the right, I guess, timing. When you had called, I was sort of into a discussion, and then when I was willing to pick up your call, you had hung up. Okay, so it's not intentional, of course, and of course I don't know who these callers are. Another point with regards to that topic of the term Kanaka Maoli, and why don't we use that term? I'll get to that term right after I answer this telephone call. How's that? And then we will be taking a short break in a few minutes from now. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, good. I'm calling regarding the statement you made a few minutes ago about the Olympic Games and how sad it is that it pits people against one another. It's kind of us against them. Mm-hmm. And regretfully, that, of course, escalates and makes it possible. It's actually us against them that can blow up the world insofar as it increases our weapons and our determination to demonize a whole nation. And that does not seem to be prevalent among the Hawaiian people. I have found them to be, I've been here 32 years. They're very lovely, they're very kind, they're very thoughtful, and they have a high degree of empathy. I'm often offered to someone to help me over a curb or to hold a door for me because I'm elderly. More than here than any place in the world. It's a gentleness about them, and I'm eternally grateful for it. There used to be an old saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it seems to me that they live this. The idea of we have to be supreme, reign over our, quote, enemy, our opponent, and what have you, is not... it's not conducive to a more intelligent and peaceful world. And the Hawaiian people seem to know this. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate their kindnesses, and I think that the contrast of that and the aggressiveness and the buildup of weapons and the things like that are so foreign to them. The last thing I will say is that this is a land where people don't honk their horns. When somebody gets aggravated on the mail and they lean on their horn and you can go for days, and unless someone is greeting another friend with their horn, people do not honk. They are inclined to forgive and to live and let live. And that's very beautiful, but I think we have to be careful not to take advantage of that in the Hawaiian people.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you very much for your call.
You're welcome.
Right, aloha.
Bye.
And we'll go to some music, and again, my appreciation for that last call.
Kaulana nā pua o Hawaii, Kupa'a mahope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai ka ua i o mano, Pa'apu me ke oni o ka kuhi hewa. Aolea e kau i ka pulima, Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi, Po'ohui ai nā ku ai hewa, I ka pono sivila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina mina, I ka pu'u kala o ke